Kayla stood atop the cliffs of Arathen, the wind whipping through her dark hair, eyes fixed on the horizon. The blood of her enemies had dried on her silver armor, but her hands trembled for the first time, not from fear, not from fatigue, but from the hollow ache of betrayal. She had conquered empires, silenced kings, tamed beasts no other soul dared approach. She was undefeated in every battlefield, but not in the matters of the heart. And Elias had been her heart. 1 year earlier, Elias was the only man who had dared to speak to Kayla as though she were merely a woman, not a warrior, not a legend. When others bowed, he remained standing. Where others offered praise, he offered poetry. He had the voice of a storm, low and rumbling, and the smile of a man who had seen too much and yet still believed in goodness. She met him during a ceasefire, on the burnt fields of Rhone. He was a diplomat then, negotiating peace between two warring clans. Kayla, who had carved peace out of blood, watched him from afar. And then, one night under a blood moon, he spoke to her. "You fight so hard," he said, eyes reflecting firelight. "Do you ever rest?" "Rest is for the dead," she replied, but he saw the sadness in her gaze. He did not flinch. He did not flee. He stayed. Weeks turned to months. As she rode from battle to battle, he traveled with her, learned her ways, slept beside her under starlit skies. She told him things she never told anyone: the weight of command, the loneliness of leadership, the dreams she once had of a quiet life by a lake. "You could have that still," Elias whispered once, pressing a kiss to her temple. "When all this is over." She wanted to believe it. But not all things end in peace. Kayla had been preparing to end the war in the east, the final conquest that would bring unity to the realm. The city of Arathen, a jewel in the mountains, had held out the longest. Its defenses were near impenetrable. But Kayla had a plan, and a secret. There was a spy within Arathen, someone feeding her information. Well, schedules, weaknesses. The only person who knew the identity of that spy was Elias. He had sworn to protect the secret with his life. "Your enemies will never see me coming," he said with that familiar smirk. "Not unless you tell them yourself." Kayla trusted him. Gods, she trusted him. It wasn't until the night of the siege that she began to sense something wrong. Her men had infiltrated the gates with ease. Too easily. The Arathen guard had left behind entire weapons caches, as though inviting her in. And then came the screams. The traps were sprung. 3 battalions were slaughtered within minutes. The mountains themselves seemed to bleed. Kayla fought her way through the chaos, fury in every stroke of her blade, searching for the informant, for Elias. She found him not on the battlefield, but in the high tower of the Arathen citadel, drinking wine with the enemy general. Her heart nearly stopped. Elias didn't flinch when she entered. He didn't even reach for a weapon. He simply rose, wiped his mouth with a fine cloth and said, "You came sooner than I thought." Kayla said nothing. Her sword dripped red. "Kayla, listen," he began. "You have to understand. I never lied to you. I just had other loyalties." "You were mine," she whispered. The words felt like lead in her throat. "You said you loved me." "I did." He stepped forward. "I do. But love cannot stand in the way of peace. Not real peace." She stared at him, struggling to understand. Elias went on, voice calm. "You wanted unity through conquest. I wanted unity without blood. Arathen offered me a chance to stop you. Not to kill you but to redirect you. I gave them your plans, yes, but I told them not to harm you. You sold out my soldiers. My people. I spared you." A silence stretched between them, sharp and cold. Kayla's jaw clenched. "You spared me. Because you thought I wouldn't kill you." "I hoped you wouldn't," he said. "I still hope." But hope was not enough. Kayla stood in the ruins of Arathen, the once mighty city broken by her wrath. Its towers had fallen. Its rivers ran dark. Elias was alive, barely. She hadn't killed him that day. She had imprisoned him. not out of mercy but out of cruelty. She wanted him to see what his betrayal had cost. "You will rot in the very kingdom you tried to save," she had told him. She visited him once a month. Never more. She never touched him. Never wept. But sometimes in the dead of night, she would stand outside his cell and listen as he whispered her name like a prayer. "Kayla. Kayla. I'm sorry." She didn't answer. Because she was not the woman he had loved anymore. She was something else now. Still undefeated, but no longer whole. The rains came late that year. Vareth, once proud and defiant, was now a skeleton city. Charred, flooded, and crawling with silence. Kayla stood at the edge of its broken walls, watching the storm roll in. Her silver armor was dulled by soot and blood. Her once soft eyes hard as iron. It had been 6 months since Elias's betrayal. 6 months since the man who swore to love her had traded her secrets for peace. 6 months since she had spared him. Not asterisk because she couldn't kill him, but because she wanted him to suffer longer than death would allow. But war is a cruel teacher. And Kayla had learned that vengeance ages faster than sorrow. Elias was a shadow of the man he'd once been. The cell was deep beneath the mountain, built by a mad king centuries ago. No sun, no warmth, just damp stone and the stench of regret. His hair had grown long and wild, his face gaunt. He did not beg. He did not cry. He simply sat, waiting. Every day, he remembered the way Kayla had looked at him in the tower. Eyes like storm fire, voice like a breaking sword. He remembered the sound of her footsteps walking away, dragging her fury behind her like a blade too heavy to lift. He had loved her. He still loved her. And in some cruel twist of fate, he believed he had done the right thing. Without Vareth, the Eastern resistance crumbled. Kingdoms surrendered before her armies even arrived. Her generals praised her brilliance. Bards wrote songs of her cold beauty and ruthless mind. But Kayla no longer celebrated victory. She merely continued forward, as if running from something she couldn't outrun. It was during a late council meeting, as snow began to fall on the highlands of Sirith, that her most trusted commander, Leora, said what no one else dared. "You burn every city, Kayla. Even when they kneel." Kayla didn't look up from her maps. "They only kneel when their legs are broken." "But once," Leora said gently, "you used to dream of peace." Kayla's eyes darkened. "Dreams are for people who can still sleep." Whispers of dissent began to grow like weeds. Refugees from Vareth spread stories of the undefeated queen who ruled through fear, who kept a traitor alive in chains just to remember how betrayal tasted. One of Kayla's spies intercepted a letter from within her own court. It was addressed to Elias, and it was signed by Leora. Betrayal again. Kayla summoned her to the throne room at midnight, flanked by guards. The firelight danced on the blade of Kayla's sword. "I should kill you where you stand," Kayla hissed. Leora didn't flinch. "Then do it. But ask yourself why you're surrounded by traitors. Ask why those who love you always leave." Kayla raised her sword. But her hand didn't move. Shook. She saw Leora's face morph into Elias's. Heard his voice in her mind again. "You fight so hard, do you ever rest?" That night, Kayla went to the dungeon. No guards. No torches. Just her and the weight of 6 months. Elias sat up when she entered. Even after all this time. His eyes softened at the sight of her. "You're thinner," he murmured. "So are you, Oz." He tried to rise, but the chains clinked. "I dreamed of you," he said quietly. "Every night. You stood in the ruins of the world, and I begged you to stop. But you couldn't hear me." Kayla knelt in front of him. The silence between them was no longer sharp. It was sorrowful. "I don't know who I am without your betrayal," she admitted. His eyes glistened. "I know. That's why I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted to save you from what war turns people into." "You made me worse," she whispered. "I know. You broke me. I know." She looked up at him, fire in her eyes now, not of rage but of mourning. "And still, I want to forgive you." He looked startled. You do. No, she said. But I want to. That's the worst part. Kayla rose. She unlatched the chain from the wall. Elias blinked, confused. You're free, she said. But you will never be mine again. He left that night. Kayla watched from the shadows as he walked away. Into the snow, into the dark. He didn't look back. And she didn't follow. In the months that followed, Kayla changed. She still fought, but now not every city burned. She still ruled, but not through fear alone. Her enemies still feared her, of course. But now so did her memories. And though she never loved again, she often stared into the fire, fingers brushing the scar on her chest, the one no blade had made. And sometimes when the wind howled through the halls, she thought she heard his voice, whispering her name. Kayla, Kayla, Kayla.